That's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. When it's Android over iPhone, and you can keep your stupid amiibo and always bashing on Nintendo. But that's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. Thanks, Retro Fandango. Oh, wow. That's how it's done.
There you go. Woo. If you weren't out desecrating statues all day, maybe you'd remember how to do this.
You son of a...
I don't know what you do. Statue. I don't know what you do when you are not sitting in front of this camera.
I did no such thing.
I can only monitor you for about an hour every 2 weeks.
See, this is what the truckers are doing right now. This is what they're doing. They're making us look bad to the rest of the world. Everyone looks at Canada now and just sees chaos.
With the Olympics going on and everything. You know, people are just wondering, like, who are these people?
And not only that, you got people in other countries looking in and saying, hey, we should do that here too.
You're setting an example.
Yeah, we're like the bad example to everyone else.
Are Canadians trying to like escape into the freedom of China right now? Are your Olympians just trying to cut ties with your country, disappear into the peaceful communistic state of China?
You came prepared. You got material. I'm not ready for this. Oh my goodness. Look at Bill just got back from the convoy.
Ooh.
Well, I hope you gave him a heck for me, Bill. I hope you gave him a piece of your mind.
My goodness. Stand for something or you'll fall for everything. Isn't that what you say?
Sure. I guess. I don't know. Okay, let me get this stuff out of the way first so we can dive right into it. Cartridge Club this month for February is playing Portal 2. So get in on that. RF Gen is playing James Bond 007 on the Game Boy, which I understand is a severely short game. You can get that done in a few hours. So, and then Beat the Bandy, Beat the Duke. I'm guessing it's still going on. You gotta fire up your NES and play Dr. Jekyll, Batman, Double Dragon 2, and Wizards and Warriors. And that's it. That's what you gotta do.
Mm-hmm.
Bill's got a lot to say. I don't know why. He says he needs some freedom, and he spent all my paycheck that the devil paid me to get there. Oh my goodness. My goodness. Well,
it is nice to be in this seat for once, seeing somebody else's government be all wacky.
Yeah. Well, it's not our government. Our government's not wacky. It's the
I understand. Yes.
A very small sliver of Canada's population, a very tiny sliver. If you only watch Fox News and read Breitbart and listen to Alex Jones, look at this. All the Canadians are piping up here. If that's what you do, then you 100% believe that all of Canada is in Ottawa right now protesting, but it is not the case. It's a very tiny amount of people. At their maximum they had 8,000 people, and I'd like to believe at least 5,500 of them realized what this thing was really about and went home. Mm-hmm. Because right now it's only, I've got honk honk here. That's code. That's the code that they use now. Right now, there's only a few hundred people that are wreaking havoc. And I said to Sarah the other day, I said, if anything, this debunks all those 9/11 conspiracy theories. Because the 9/11 conspiracy theory is that it had to be an inside job, right? There's no way that just 18 guys can get on planes and wreak havoc in that one day. But here we have just a few hundred people, and look at what they're doing. That's the scary part. That's why people believe in conspiracy theories, because it is so easy for a small minority amount of people to just wreak havoc in our system. So much of what we have laid out here in Canada is based on good faith, that the majority of people will do good and be good. And it doesn't take much. It really doesn't take much.
Well, it's all about volume, right? If you got the guts to stand up and actually say what you want to say, sometimes people listen.
Well, I mean, a lot of it is, the people are just angry. They're angry about having to wear masks or having to get the vaccine, or they don't like Justin Trudeau or whatever it is. They're just upset. They're angry. And these people who are at the top really know how to manipulate those people very well. They have the tools and design. They know what to do, and they know how to channel that anger. Because anytime anyone talks to one of them, they're all there for different reasons. And a lot of it doesn't make sense. Like they're just angry. They'll just start yelling. Like if like reporters just asking questions, and they'll just start yelling at them. And they know how to channel that energy into making them feel and believe that they're working for this agenda, that this thing that they believe in. But they're really doing the total opposite. They're doing like right now, they got this bridge between Canada and America blocked. $13 million an hour pass over this bridge. It's like one of the biggest money-making border crossings in the entire world. And they got this bridge blocked. They got it closed down. They got it shut down. And what it's doing is hurting the working class. It's hurting the people who work in factories. It's hurting the people who work at grocery stores. It's hurting because they can't get the supplies through that they all need, that in order to keep working. They got this thing in the auto industry. It's called like something where they call it like last minute, like everything is done to order, like everything, like the plant just keeps running as long as stuff keeps coming in. And if it doesn't come in, the plant just shuts down. And so all these working class and everything that they're fighting for and apparently doing this for, they're actually hurting, and nothing makes sense anymore. It just doesn't make sense. They hijacked our nation. Why isn't Bill on? Bill, if you want to be on, let me know. Why do they all want to have sex with Trudeau? See, I said that to Sarah too. I said so there a lot of them have like this irrational anger towards Justin Trudeau. They really don't like him. And I think part of it is that he's a good-looking guy. He's comes off as like sophisticated, and they don't like that. They want somebody that talks down to their level kind of thing. And that's why they hated Obama, for the same reason. He was a good-looking guy, and he had the swagger and the, I don't know. I don't get it. How are you doing?
I'm finding this all very interesting to a point.
Yeah, I know. Like it's all over the place in the news here right now. It's all that anybody can talk about. It's because they don't know what the next. It's like a big giant chess game. They don't know what the next move is going to be. These guys keep threatening to shut down more bridges, to shut down airports, to go to schools and get kids to walk out of the school. Like it's just
really crazy. They're dragging their kids into this.
Yeah. Oh, the kids, that's a whole other thing, man. So a lot of people that are in Ottawa that have been there for 2 weeks have had their kids there for 2 weeks, and they set up like bouncy castles and stuff for them to play. And so yesterday the news was that Child Services was like, maybe we should look into this. Maybe we should like see and make sure that these kids are being taken care of, that they're okay and everything. And some reporters went, to get the reaction from them. They're like, hey, Child Services is thinking about coming in here to take a look. What's your reaction to that? And the reaction was, tell me right now if my kids are going to be removed here or not. Tell me right now if my kids are safe or not. Tell me. And they're asking the reporter this, and he's like, I don't know. I'm trying to do this story. They're saying that they might come in and investigate. I'm trying to get your reaction to that. And instead they were like, if you can't tell me if my kids are safe here or not, then I'm out of here. And he told him to F off. And oh my goodness. Yes, they had their kids like hand in hand across the border. I can't. It's ridiculous. They have images of it where their kids are all standing along the border with their holding hands. It's ridiculous.
What's the police presence along, like, in this protest area? Are they just kind of like cautiously standing back, or are they making any formal arrests?
Well, there is a lot of just criticism towards the Ottawa police force. The problem is that they let them camp. They let them hunker down. They let them build structures and get all set up and get comfy and cozy, right? They tried to do this last weekend in Toronto. And the way they set it up in Toronto is that they just kept them moving. They set up all the buses and everything around so they couldn't get to, say, like the capital of Ontario, the province is Toronto, right? And so we have Queen's Park in Toronto. And they were going to start camping there as well. Like the capital of Canada is Ottawa, which is also in Ontario. So they were camped there, and then they were going to start in clamping down in Toronto. And they strategically used city buses throughout the city to basically block them. So they had to kind of funnel in and then just funnel out. Like they had no choice but to just the way they did it. And they're worried because this weekend, they're planning on doing it again, and they're not sure if the tricks that they used last time is going to be as effective this time. Part of the problem too is that the truckers that camped in Ottawa had actual semis, right? Whereas this Toronto takeover was done with farm equipment, and apparently farm equipment doesn't travel too well on pavement. So it's not good to keep farm equipment on pavement, kind of thing. So if they had nowhere to park in the dirt, basically they had to just keep going, kind of thing. So yeah.
Who is Ford?
So Doug Ford is our premier of Ontario, which is the equivalent to a governor of a state.
Okay.
Right. And what the chat is chirping about here is it was discovered today that last weekend Doug Ford went up to his cottage and went on a skidoo trip, went out on the skidoo and, just had a good time driving around his skidoo in the bush. That's what a lot of Canadians do, which would be fine on any average weekend. But this is the weekend where you got all these protesters and it's turning into an emergency. And, the longer these protesters are staying there, they're becoming more and more emboldened, right? Like that's the huge problem is that right now, like at first it was like, okay, well, what are you going to do? They're protesting, they're exercising their free rights and all that stuff. And eventually they're going to tire out and leave, but they're not tiring out. They're not leaving because they're entrenched in there. And the longer they stay there, the more they feel justified in what they're doing, the more chaos they're creating, the more effect they're having on everyone's life. And that is like justification to them. This is exactly what they want. And so him going off on this skidoo trip when this problem is festering really looked bad on him. Like he really should, like, and I understand, like, he's a human being and you need some time to, relax, reset your mind and all that, but not when the house is on fire. Like when stuff is happening, you got to take care of this. Do it after you take care of this. So, it just really looks bad on him because part of the problem is that things have been so slow. He hasn't been doing anything, and then the photo op, right? Sarah brings up the photo op. So Sarah and I were talking about this, and the other problem too, is that if he would have just went up on this skidoo trip and kept his skidoo helmet on and his suit on, nobody would have known it was Doug Ford, right? He could have just drove around in the bush and no one would have known who the heck it was. So I'm going around, but somebody recognized him and he stood there and took photos with everybody. So of course they all took their photos and they posted it on, and it's like, dude, like maybe be a little low key, Anyways.
Are there any fan favorites of the protesters? You got any
No.
equivalents to the shaman?
There was a guy who was in a Speedo on the first day,
Ooh.
and there was a lot of comparisons to the shaman guy, but he disappeared rather quickly. He did not last out in that Canadian cold very long. But no, there really isn't anyone. They're all just terrible people. Like nobody has stood out like that. It's
Just a
been
bunch of
going
guys
on.
in like trucker hats and
No. See, here's the other thing too. The other misconception is that they're all truckers. They had at most they had about 120 semi trucks in Ottawa. It's only about 120 trucks, like actual semi trucks. The rest are all just guys in pickup trucks, guys in F-150s, and there's about 500 of them. There's probably a lot less there now. So a lot of them are just I don't know, farmers or people have nothing to do, I guess. I mean, what these guys are all complaining that they can't work because they're being forced to take this vaccine and they can't get a job with the vaccine. But it's like, well, you can get a job. You don't need to take the vaccine to work. You're a trucker. You just can't take a job where it takes you over the border. You can drive, take a job where you're driving around in Ontario or driving around in Saskatchewan or just in Canada in general. You don't even need a vaccine across the provincial border. So their argument is just, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense why they're fighting it. At the end of the day, if they get the Canadian government to change their idea, to change their opinion, the Americans still have the same restriction on them. You have to be vaccinated. For the Americans to allow you into their country, you have to be vaccinated. So there's absolutely nothing the Canadian government can do. It's so stupid. Yes, and we all sign employee agreements. And while they got trucking licenses. You got to get a license in order to drive one of those trucks. You got to have special training and all that stuff. If you don't have that, you can't drive the truck. If any of them, and here's the other thing too. I saw a nurse post this on Twitter the other day. She's like, all these unvaccinated people come into the emergency ward and they got COVID and they don't have any vaccine. So it's like they got COVID on day one. And the first thing they do is they take them and they pump them all full of chemicals to keep them alive. And they don't seem too concerned about that. All those stuff that they pump into them, they're fine with. But this vaccine, that's the one that they got a problem with. And it's all just terrible rhetoric that is on the social media that's got all these people worked up for whatever it is. They're just angry, angry people. And part of it is, our politics here in North America, really. You got, nobody donates money towards the middle, right? Nobody, everybody donates money to, like, if you're far left or far right, that's where you can make a lot of money, right? For your political campaign. Look at how much money that they raised on GoFundMe in a very short amount of time. They rose $10 million. Because it's a far right idea. It's a far right fringe idea. Nobody in the middle is going to get that. Nobody who's going to. And so right now you got the Conservative Party in Canada that's really like trying to play both sides of this thing because they see that $10 million and they're like, how can we channel that into our political campaign kind of thing? But they also want to distance themselves from them because they don't want to, because once you fully embrace them, once you're in, there's no going back. So many problems. So I'll fix it all one day, but not today.
Yeah, when are you going to start running for government? Make some changes.
I think that's the problem too. Is once you get into government, you can't make any changes because you got to take all these campaign donations from all these people in order to win the election, or you're just going to get slaughtered. And once you get there, now you got all these commitments for all these people that donated money to your campaign. All the stuff you want to get done, you can't get done.
It's all the stuff you do just to get elected. Say all those things.
And
you get wrapped up in the real world of politics.
Let me tell you, like the AM radio in Toronto, I've been listening to it a lot over the last 2 weeks. It is incredibly conservative. I mean, I was here listening to one guy. He was like yelling at Trudeau for being for dividing the country. He's got to stop dividing this country. He's just everything he does, it just divides this country. He doesn't know how to unite. And I'm like, well, what do you want him to do? These people all hate him. Doesn't matter what he does. They just hate him for whatever reason. And it's like just a constant group of bullies that's picking on someone. No matter what he does, no matter what he says, they're just down on him. There's no like coming halfway. And I mean, so what do they expect him to do? Like how can you get? And it's such a tiny percentage of Canada. It's like they see things like it's down the middle. Half the country is for this and half the country isn't. That's not the case at all. It's like a very slim amount of people. Like 80% of the country is vaccinated. 80% of the country, well over 80%, is vaccinated, gets it, is going about their day, doing their Canadian thing, being quiet, going about their work. That's all most people want to do. They just want to go to work and then go home and play some games, do a podcast or whatever, Anyways.
Sounds to me like the Canadian government should look into something called the Purge.
We'll talk about the Purge. I got some thought. I watched the Purge. And I got some thought.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say.
All right. Well, we want to just go in order here. What we got?
How
long's that been? 20-minute rant? That was pretty good.
Not bad. You got to get that out.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, I guess in smaller news.
It's okay. Sorry. The groups. So Bill says the group leaders all have published racist histories. No world leader can meet with someone like that. 100% agreed. You don't have to dig too far into some social media accounts to find them on record saying incredibly racist stuff. And
I mean, people are monitoring these public forums.
Yeah, believe it or not.
You can't just shout things at random anymore. My goodness.
You absolutely can. That's the thing. That's the thing that they don't get. You absolutely can in this country shout whatever the hell you want. But there are consequences for what you shout. That's the part
especially
that
when it's recorded.
And the other thing they don't understand is they're all about their freedoms, right? I have freedom. I need freedom. Freedom for things. They're not losing any freedom. What they're losing is a privilege, right? When you driving a semi truck in Canada is a privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege. You got to go get trained. You got to learn how to drive that truck. I know I'm ranting again. But
I was just gonna say you did 20 minutes and then one comment and one sip of coffee got you going again.
That's it. But it's not a freedom. You're not free to do it. It's a privilege. You earn that privilege, and then you get to keep that privilege if you follow the rules. That's the way things are done in a society. So absolutely, you can get in a truck, you can drive it around, you're free to do that. But if you get caught, you're going to be in trouble because you didn't earn that privilege yet without following the rules, without going to school first. You can't just be a doctor. You got to go get a doctorate before you be a doctor, Anyways.
Talk to China about freedom.
I will not talk to China about freedom. Oh man.
Are you enjoying the Winter Olympics?
I have watched zero of it. I have been so consumed with this stupid convoy. I can't it's there's no, like, I don't even care. Whatever. Olympics.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Speaking of social media, though, I was thinking of dropping either Twitter or Discord because I found that I just cannot keep up with the two of them.
You don't have. Okay, so
yeah, I know I don't have to monitor. I don't check them on a regular basis anymore. But I find that when I go to Twitter, I just have to keep going. It's like, and then after a couple of swipes, I'm like, what am I doing this for? Shut the whole thing off.
I don't even bother.
Yeah.
I don't even bother trying to keep up with it all. If I turn it on and I just go to whatever's happening, and if I happen to catch it, fine. But if I miss something, I miss something.
Yeah.
That's why I like with Discord, like the conversation stays there, so you can get to it later. You know, you can just like, all right, I'll chime in later. Like I saw everyone talking about Star Trek over the weekend on our Discord channel. But I was like, I couldn't get to it yet because I was consumed with the convoy. But once there was a little lull, I was able to go over there and put my 2 cents in about the first season of The Next Generation, which I will defend as not being a great season. Had some terrible episodes in it, but it was still a good show overall, and you could see that in the first season.
I haven't gone back to watch TNG in quite a while. So
I mean, there are some cringe episodes.
I've seen clips. I've seen a lot of people talk about, the first season of Next Gen, and they point out a few reasons why, and it makes sense. But I haven't seen it in a bit.
Yeah.
Although I'd probably still watch it over Picard.
Oh, I mean, it's light years better than that garbage. Hot mess. No, not anything like Voyager. There's nothing good about Voyager.
Voyager started promising, like the concept of the two crews and all the it would be a lot of conflict in them, and coming off the DS9 where they did a really good thing with having all this interpersonal conflicts, even though that was not Roddenberry's vision, but then it just all quickly got swept away. Like, oh no, we get along fine now.
Yeah, no, I totally 100% agree. I love the concept. I think it's great. It's like Lost in Space, but you have like these two, those two different dueling factions right on the ship. So there's a lot of inner conflict. But it was like Chakotay was like the second in command that was supposed to be the leader of this group that's against Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
And like within the first episode, he's all like, "Yeah, well, Janeway and I were best friends. I'm gonna whatever Janeway says, that goes." And it's like, what? Like, build up to it a little bit. Come on.
I haven't seen every episode, Bill, but I have seen quite a bit of Voyager.
I have seen the entire series of Voyager because I worked at a television station that forced me to run every episode of the show, and I have seen it. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I have. And well, a lot of episodes I did practice my guitar while it played in the background because it could not captivate my interest, but I have seen a majority of Voyager. Now, when I went back to watch it to give it a second chance, I did not last long. I don't even think we finished the first season, and then we followed a list that said watch these episodes, and once I got the 2 Vicks, I was out Vicks.
And can I further say, Bill, well, you twist my words. I was not saying how bad the show is. I don't think Voyager is a bad show. I think it's just not as good as the others.
I will go on record as saying it's a bad show with a good character, the Doctor.
Doctor is cool.
Yeah, I was
Retro Fandango's own Bobby Picardo.
That's right. I was actually trying to Bill, Bill had the luxury shift. He got the sweet gig shift where he got to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer every night. And Angel. I was on the overnights with Star Trek, and the only good show I got was Conan. That was it. That was my one saving grace. I did get to.
You had worked the other shift, you would be a huge Buffy and Angel fan.
I don't think I would be. No. And when I would have to cover Bill's shift, it would actually annoy me that people would come in to the room to watch the show. It's like in our room where we ran all the television shows, we had like this little 15-inch monitor that was our main monitor in there to run all the shows. And meanwhile, like over in the other parts of the building, they had like, bigger monitors, 27 and 37-inch televisions that they could watch us on. No, they decided to sit in there with me and watch the show. And sad times because I couldn't turn it down and do what I wanted. I had to sit there and watch it. Yeah. Anyways. What were we talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I got too many pages open here, so I can't find the outline. There we go. You were playing a great game.
I played a couple of great games. Well, I played Bulletstorm, played through that again. The first time I played it on PC with the Duke Nukem extra bit, which
Duke Nukem's World Tour.
Yeah, which I gotta say, for the extra amount of money that they ask for that Duke Nukem World Tour, it's not really worth it.
I've resisted getting it.
I would. It's not worth it. So all they did was they took the main character out of the game, and they put in Duke Nukem.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's Duke Nukem, John St. John doing all the lines for it, but it's really awkward because all of the lines that he does, that he says, it's as if he's saying the one-liners in the original video game in that same cadence, which it's weird because I have played a Duke Nukem game where he has been Duke Nukem from beginning to end, and he does not do that in like Duke Nukem. What was it? Duke Nukem Forever, right? Like he talked like Duke Nukem, he had the Duke Nukem voice, but he said everything like it. Whereas this was like he was saying it all in like he was saying one-liners. And it was really like it would just be a conversation between two characters,
Well, I get from what I heard, they didn't even, it's only him. So the other characters, they're still referring to him as if he is Grayson Hunt, your main character.
Yeah.
So a lot of his lines are things like I don't belong in this game, or who are you talking to, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a joke, but it's a joke that's stretched the entire length of the game.
Yeah. It's meant to be something that you activate once you play through the game, and it's just like, okay, it's a funny thing. But it's just really comes off really weird that he's saying everything in like it'd be cool if he was saying the lines like he was like, like he in the Duke Nukem voice, but as the character, but he was just like it'd be like you and I having a conversation and everything is like a Duke Nukem one-liner. It'd be like you and I having a conversation and everything's a one-liner. Like that's, instead of like just, I don't know, talking like Duke Nukem, but normal. Yeah, it's kind of weird to describe, but.
Yeah, I get it. Some people just want to see that, but yeah, I've resisted getting, even though when it's on sale, it's like $1 or something for it.
Yeah.
But I like the main character in that game, and I like the storyline, so.
Yeah.
I'd rather just go through it as normal.
Yeah. Well, I had a good time with it once again. And it's a short game. It doesn't take that long to play through. And good mechanics. And yeah. It's funny. And it's weird too, like the amount of crap that game got. And it's obvious that everything's tongue in cheek. And you go back and look at some of the reviews and people took it like so seriously. I don't understand why.
Maybe it was the time. Maybe it was just like right around the time where people were like, this is juvenile, and you can't
I thought about that.
Just these crude jokes.
I did think about that, but Borderlands kind of does the same thing. Borderlands has like it might not be as crass, but it still has like a, maybe because it's Borderlands is more cartoony.
Does Borderlands have online multiplayer?
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, yeah, Duke Nukem. The Bulletstorm doesn't have that. First person only. Yeah, forget that. It's a single player game. Yeah.
I remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was one reviewer that would take points off right off the top. If a game didn't have multiplayer, he'd take points off right away.
Yeah.
He felt that every game should have multiplayer.
I remember watching reviews for that that shooter Black.
Yeah,
where all the destructible environments and everything, and in the review they're like, "Oh man, plays good, looks good, all this, all that, no multiplayer, come on." And then that goes to their final scores. Like, why does that have to be the end all of all these games?
Or a game would have a great first solo campaign and all that, and that was all good, but the multiplayer wasn't that great, so they would give it a low score because but if the single player is good, then I don't know. It was a weird time. I think they kind of got over that.
They kind of figured that is a feature that must be included now. And if you don't, then, well, you're not doing your job right.
Yeah. Did you play any games, or that's it?
No.
No, you did watch a lot of movies. I saw your list there. On
I've really been trying to, crack down on the movies. So, I mean, there is a game I've been playing, but nobody cares because it's a pen and paper thing, and nobody has any frame of reference for it. So, there's no point in talking about it.
And by nobody, you mean me.
Well, there's nobody I can communicate with that would have anything to really input.
I really don't. No. I wish I did. I'm
enjoying it though.
I bought Dungeons and Dragons books, but I haven't looked at them.
I'll share this with everyone. I did buy some new dice, so I got some of those fancy like D&D dice.
Cool.
I actually have another set on the way, so I need multiples of D4s and D12s and stuff.
Right on.
Yeah, it's good times. No, I did just sit around watching a lot of movies. So that's pretty much. I did start listing all my movies in Discord because I know I'm not going to talk about them. So for all the rabid Discord commenters out there for the Retro Fandango, the elite, you call them?
Yes, that's right.
If you care to hear my thoughts on all the movies, you can go over there and ask. But I just picked out two to talk about. One of them is called Haywire, a movie I'd never heard of before. Came out in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an action picture, and it's pretty good. Pretty good for parts of it, and except for when it's not pretty good.
Okay.
But the parts that are pretty good are pretty good.
Who's in it?
Lots of people, lots of small roles from big names, probably bigger names that don't do as much nowadays. Ewan McGregor's in it.
Okay.
Antonio Banderas. Who's the Wall Street guy? Michael Douglas.
Okay. Antonio Banderas was just nominated for an Oscar.
Is he really?
For playing Ricky Ricardo in that Amazon movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I like Antonio Banderas as an actor. I think he always looks like he's having fun.
I think he is. Yeah. He was in a great, unfortunately it's a Woody Allen movie, but he was in a Woody Allen movie with Scarlett Johansson. That was a good movie.
He was in the third of those terrible Expendables movies, the Stallone action movies.
Oh wait, no. I'm thinking of the wrong guy. You said Antonio Banderas, right?
Yeah.
Who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm thinking of the wrong guy.
Banderas and Lucy. Oh wow. Phil's gonna crucify you now.
Who the heck was it? What's that guy's name?
I don't know. Anyway, I think Antonio Banderas steals the show in a lot of films he's in. He's not always a great actor, but he's a fun actor to watch. He should get an Oscar, though. I would give him one.
Oh, what the heck was that name?
The
guy that played... oh, shoot.
Javier Bardem?
Is that who it is?
I don't even know who that is. Sarah
Javier Bardem. That's who it was? Javier Bardem? Okay, Sarah would know. Let's see. Being the Ricardos, 2001. What's that guy's name? Yeah, I'm thinking of Javier Bardem. There you go. I got it eventually. I got there. Antonio Banderas is... Yeah, I don't know anything about him. He was Zorro, right?
He was Zorro. I really like that first Zorro movie.
I hear it's good.
It's a fun adventure movie.
The guy who directed that movie is the guy who directed Goldeneye. So there. Ooh. Now you got to watch Goldeneye.
Maybe I should. Maybe I will.
I think that's the one you should watch. If you're going to watch just one James Bond movie, I think Goldeneye.
I did watch one James Bond movie.
Yeah, well, you watched the wrong one.
I watched a James Bond.
Yeah, the wrong one. See, that movie is the Convoy of Canada right there. Well, that represents James Bond to the world. That right there. Ugh.
Anyway, back to that the action movie I was talking about, Haywire. The main actress in that movie, I don't know her name. I don't remember it. But I started watching and I was like, I don't know who this is. But then a fight scene starts and she's really good. I'm like, wow, they cast perfectly. They cast an actress that really knows how to fight. And then I looked it up afterwards and it turns out she was some like MMA fighter.
Oh,
I
well,
was
there you
like,
go.
wow, for an MMA fighter, she's pretty good in this role. Like, she's a decent actress. She's really holding this together. But then
Gina
I found out,
Carano, was that?
yes, and I was gonna say, if you don't know who that is, she was in Deadpool. She was like the heavy that beats up
Oh, okay.
Colossus.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess she's done a couple of other things, but turns out the reason that I think she's a good actress is because they dubbed over all her dialogue. She recorded the movie, and then they had another actress come in and re-record all her audio.
Wow.
And
I
apparently she knew about this. You know, they said her voice wasn't right or something.
mhm.
But the movie is pretty solid. There's a lot of good action scenes. There's a lot of good scenes that just have her doing action. Like she chases somebody early in the movie and it's just like a long shot of her running. And it's like, okay, they got somebody who can actually do this. They're not cheating with body doubles and the action's nice and clean. And when they do an action scene, they cut all the music. It's like very
Oh, I like
realistic.
that.
Just very raw and intense. She beats up I won't spoil anything. But it's a pretty good action movie until the end.
Mm.
And then it kind of ends quickly. It almost felt like, like if you're watching episode 2 and then they do a recap of episode 1, the ending is kind of like that. It just like everything happens so quickly. I feel like there should be more scenes showing how this was accomplished, but it's just kind of like, here are all the important points.
Mm.
I don't know. So it's not
Gotcha.
perfect, but it is fun. The action's good.
Well, I put it on my wish list on Letterbox, so it's there.
Okay. What was the other one I put
Our
on
watch
there?
list.
Hollow Man. You ever seen
Yeah.
Hollow Man?
No, I hear that you get to see all of Kevin's bacon.
Oh yeah, you sure do. Why do you think I watched it? I saw that movie in the theater when it came out, and my reaction at the time was, it was either the effects were too good for the script, or the script wasn't good enough for the effects. Like
Mm-hmm.
It's been a very long time since I watched it. It's a Verhoeven film. It was maybe the last of like his American sci-fi movies there.
Okay. And
as a Paul Verhoeven movie, it is a big step down from the likes of Total Recall and RoboCop. As an action adventure movie, horror movie, I guess it's more of a horror movie. It's okay. It's definitely not as bad as all the reviews make it sound. If you go to like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, the score is really low. It's not terrible, but it is mediocre. But it's watchable. But the one thing I was really surprised at is the effects still look pretty darn good.
Bill wants to know if his bacon was crispy or chewy.
Oh, chewy. Quite chewy.
Okay. It was limp bacon. Is that what?
Limp Biscuit?
Anyways.
Yeah, the effects. This movie came out in the year 2000. So there's a lot of that circa 2000 CGI in there. And there's kind of like 3 levels of the effects in this movie. You got the stuff that's completely CGI. And of course it looks dated. It looks pretty 2000 CGI-ish. And then you got the CGI, but it's shot nicely and done in an interesting way. Lots of camera movement and interesting stuff. And that stuff still looks pretty good because of the way it was shot. Then you've got the CGI mixed with practical effects, and that stuff looks great. There are large parts of the movie where Kevin Bacon is wearing this like rubber mask because he's invisible and they need to see him. But the eyes and the mouth are like cut open, and you can see in through the eye, and you see the back of like the mask.
Wow.
And that's kind of why they called it Hollow Man, because they saw the effect of like this guy's head is hollow. Looks great. It looks fantastic. It's just simple. They keyed out the green, and then you see what's in there, and it looks great. There are points where he's completely invisible, and he puts like a blanket over him just to walk around. And because it was actually Kevin Bacon wearing like green suits, you get the right body, and you get the movement, so everything feels right, and it looks flawless. Like I forget that I'm looking at like an effect there. It just looks great. And I was so curious to see how they did a lot of this. So I watched it because I found the DVD for $1 in the store. I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch this. And there was one little featurette there about the making of, and it was kind of brief, but you got a couple of shots of he was wearing like all green for some shots. He was all black for certain other shots. He had to wear blue for these other shots to get these different effects. And it was really interesting just to see how they did that. I could watch an entire feature-length documentary just on that. It's really interesting. But that was the surprising part, is that he was actually there for every scene that he was doing some kind of action. It's just they had to cut them all out, but he was there as the frame of reference for everything, and that's why the effects look so good. So the movie is mediocre. It's not terrible, but it's really quite impressive to see some of those old effects hold up as well as they do.
Yeah, there's a saying that no one sets out to make a bad movie. Everyone sets out to make a good movie, and it's bad for other reasons. But I think Hollow Man, I haven't seen it myself, but I think the reason why it's not very good is because Paul Verhoeven really didn't want to do science fiction anymore. He intentionally like put out some diminishing returns so he could just get off of the science fiction train and do what he wanted to do.
Maybe. I don't know what he's doing these days, but I know he's
Apparently
done with
like,
the American stuff.
Like artsy lesbian films, from what I understand. Hey, Dean's here.
Hey,
Dean, you missed all the convoy talk. By the way, all these convoy people come from Dean's province too. So
I was going to say, maybe he didn't miss it.
I'm blaming Dean. He sends all these people over here. Take him back, Dean. Come on. Get him out of here. Those were the two movies you want to talk about, but I wanted to ask you about what you listed here. Breakfast Club. You'd seen that before, or was this the first time?
It was the first time I've seen the entire thing, because as a kid, I saw it a lot on TV. So naturally, they cut a whole lot about that artsy lesbian films.
Dean says he heard artsy lesbian films and had to stop by. I have to do that for the people who only listen.
Yeah, I'd seen Breakfast Club a number of times when I was younger, but on network television. So all of the
good parts,
the good parts were bleeped over, and then there was one scene that they cut in entirely that I always heard about. But I don't know. I felt like it's time to revisit, and I watched it, and I think Breakfast Club is a really good movie. It's a really smart script. It takes some artistic liberties with certain aspects. You can nitpick a couple of the details, but I think it's one of those movies that if I were putting together like a film class for people and saying, if you want to learn how to make movies, watch these movies, because this is limited cast, limited location. It's all about script, direction, and performance.
Yeah, that movie. Pretty much, it's one of those movies that takes place all in that one room. They do go out of the room,
but yeah, it's something like you can do a lot with not so much if you have the right ideas and the right direction and the right stories, and set your core for your film, and have a message. The message of the film is so open and direct. It's just, it's all about labeling and being labeled and living within those labels and trying to get beyond that.
I think it's fairly timeless too. Like, you know, it transcends because it's a movie that's just about people going through that stage of their life, you know, and I think it's
Hmm.
just something that just transcends every generation. So I will say the only thing about that movie that I think if it was made today might have changed be changed a little bit was what's her name? Ali. I can't remember
Ali
the name of it.
Sheedy.
Ali Sheedy. Her character at the end, she becomes like this prep, you know, and that's the
Yeah, that
part
was the
that
one. That
yeah,
was the one element that bugged me a little bit, is that like she can't just be herself. She had to
right,
change,
yeah,
and she had to change to get a man.
right. That's
So
the
like
only part that's a little dated, you
that
know.
felt a little forced. I mean, there was some vocabulary that's not tolerated anymore.
Yeah. Well, of
Um,
course, yeah, but that's a product of its time, you know. That's just the 80s,
yes,
man.
yes, yes,
Anyone
yes.
who went through the 80s that says they didn't use any sort of homophobic slurs is lying because that's the way we all talked back then.
Hmm.
Of course, not me though, because I just read my Bible. I didn't. Anytime someone said that, I just would look down at my Bible.
Hmm. No, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It makes me realize though there are a number of John Hughes films that I've never seen. That Brat Pack things. I don't know if it's worth seeing all of those. The Or they're like 16 Candles
Hmm.
and all that kind of stuff.
I would say out of all those, the Breakfast Club is the best, but you know, Sarah watches them all the time, so I'll sneak in there and watch a bit here and there. And I think they're all as far as I've seen it, they're all pretty good. They all have like their merits and that. But the Breakfast
Mhm.
Club is like the one that stands out a little bit more. And then of course, you know, like I don't know if you count like he did do other movies like Uncle Buck and stuff like that, right? That
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
isn't
yeah, that the teenager stuff is more what
yeah.
I'm thinking of, because you know, even though I can enjoy the film and say like, well, I can see all the benefits and positives and everything, I kind of feel like I've passed the target demographic
Oh
by
yeah, for sure.
quite a lot, by quite a stretch. So
Yeah.
you know, sometimes it's hard to go back and watch movies made for teenagers,
Hmm.
you know, but it's intelligently done. So
Okay. 28 Days Later. What'd you think of that one?
eh,
Yeah, I didn't like it either.
I didn't dislike it, but I was all I knew is that people went on about it as being this great zombie movie, and it does get the right tone and it does focus on the right things, because zombie movies are best when it's all the interpersonal conflict between people trying to make sense of a senseless situation. Um, I'm guessing this came out before the Walking Dead TV show, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so was this 2002? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm guessing the whole concept of the person waking up in a hospital and not knowing what's going on and finding out it's a zombie thing,
Hmm.
it all came from this movie,
I
or at least
guess.
maybe this
Yeah.
was the earliest one to do that. Uh, well done enough, and some likable parts, but it didn't need to be 2 hours. You know? Why weren't the infected fighting each other? I don't
I
know.
don't know.
Why weren't the infected fighting each
Right.
other?
I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in so long. They were full of rage, so why not? I see. I guess
I don't know.
right because technically that in that movie they're not zombies, right? They're infected human beings
Is it
infected by this
is
virus.
it necessary for them to fight each other, or maybe they even do
So
that off camera and you don't
I
like?
guess what he's saying is that if they're infected and you're full of rage, you would fight
Mhm.
anything that's in front of you. You wouldn't just fight like you wouldn't be able to
Right,
ascertain if
but
someone was infected or not. You would just like go all in out and fight. They only
well, I
went after
mean,
normal
it's
people.
again, that's what I was saying. The point of these zombie movies isn't the details of the zombies and the rules. It's there are people, and those zombies would, if they're fighting each other, they would also go after these people, and that's what we're focused on. These people who are just thing. And it's a plot hole. It leads. What you're saying is what happens towards the end of that movie when the people start fighting each other. That's the whole situation. Is everybody's just losing it in these things.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie in, I don't know, 20 years or something. I just remember
Do you
watching
know?
it and thinking,
But this is like the thing where like you asked me about it, and we both say, it's not so great. It's not so great," and then Bill like is like yelling at us for not criticizing it more when we both said it's not
I
great.
honestly don't remember it that much.
It's like,
No, but I get his point. No, he's making a point that I understand it. I understand what he's saying. Like, I agree. Like, that's kind of stupid. If something's full of rage, it would just attack anything. It wouldn't, just pick and choose what it had to pick, what it would fight, right? Like, it's kind of established in the Walking Dead universe that zombies aren't interested in each other. They're only interested in attacking humans because that's like their food, I guess.
Oh, that was the first part. There was this other movie that I started watching, but I realized I don't care enough to finish, called The Cured, which is another zombie movie. Yeah, I believe it's from Ireland, and it's about it had an interesting concept where there was an outbreak like this, and then they realized they could cure the people, and now the film is focused on some people who used to be zombies but are now back to being people, but they remember being zombies and everything they did, and they're being reintegrated into society. And it's all the protests of people saying they shouldn't be allowed back in here.
Right.
They're monsters, they're evil. And then there are still some of the zombies that haven't been able to be cured, and they're trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do with them?
And then let me guess, there's one lady whose husband or son or daughter died because of one of these zombies. And now the person
thousands and thousands of people, they're all
right
doing
now
this,
the person's turned back and they're like,
and now they're
this guy
looking at him funny. Yeah. And then but one of the things is one of the guys who was cured is working with the zombies that are still infected, and he realized like they don't attack him because they see him still as one of their own. So if that is of concern to you, Bill, you might enjoy watching that. But
he says it's cool. There was a British show like that too. So there you go.
Yeah, after about 5 or 10 minutes, though, I realized like this is a really silly idea that they're taking very seriously, and that makes it seem even sillier to me. So it's like you could do it as a comedy, or you could do it as a really serious thing. Uh-oh. You been bitten recently, Kev? Yeah. Oh my goodness, he had to mute his mic and everything. Hey, it's a La Mamamiento. People full of rage, mosh and mosh pits. That's true. I don't know, Bill. I'm not defending 28 Days Later. I haven't seen 28 Weeks Later. And I don't know. I think I'm kind of burned out on zombies already. I watched a couple of different zombie movies this month. And
when it comes to zombie movies, Shaun of the Dead, you're done. Good. You're good. Good to go.
It's the most enjoyable.
You don't need anything more. You don't need anything
Night of the Living Dead is pretty good. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah. That
the one that started it all.
The black and white one where they're in the house. Yeah.
I saw the one that was made in the 90s not too long ago, and that was decent too.
I see them like once in a while, like when I'm out looking for DVDs and that, and there's like Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead and all that. But I can't remember which one's which.
If you find that, I forget if it's Day or Dawn. One of those is supposed to be like really hard to get. Every time I see it, it's very expensive because it's out of print.
Oh, a Blu-ray. Yeah, there's like a Blu-ray, right? That's really expensive.
Yeah, I've seen it in shops here, and it'll go for like $70.
Yeah, no, I've only seen the DVDs, which I'm pretty sure are very.
Well, I'm guessing everything is out of print. So
yeah, getting that way. They posted that report there on that website, and that Twitter account that I follow that shows divvies up all the physical media and how like what's still, and DVDs are still over 50% of the physical media that gets sold because it's mostly old people that are not interested in Blu-rays or 4K.
Yeah, it makes me nervous of how many more years do we have of the physical media before everything is just digital.
I think it'll always. it'll always be there because of other regions, and there will always be people that I don't know, they just don't have the internet, or they're into like there'll always be a collecting aspect to it, I think. But it's just not mainstream. Like you can still buy music, right? You can still buy vinyl records, CDs, even cassettes are coming back for some reason. But it just won't be mainstream. So you'll have to pay more for like a limited release of something. So I think they'll always be there, but just not like it was. Okay, what else do we have to talk about here?
I just thought of something. I talked about Hollow Man.
Yeah.
And now the 28 days later.
Yeah.
Double bacon.
Double bacon?
Yeah, because the main actor, the Cillian Murphy guy, he was the guy who played the Scarecrow in the Batman Nolan movies.
Yeah.
He wakes up naked in a bed, and you can see his bacon too.
Wow, you're really into the bacon lately.
I guess so.
Not judging. Whatever you're into, that's your thing.
You can't judge these days. Don't you dare.
I'm not. I really don't care, man. Whatever
will get canceled so fast.
I really don't care. Whatever floats your boat, you go do that thing. Don't matter to me. All right. MCU Phase 2 challenge for 2022.
Possibly
you're going to watch all of Phase 2 in 2022. Do
you see how it worked last year? 2021 in January, I started watching Phase 1. 2022 in February, Phase 2. See how it gets, the time is restricted each year.
And it's easy to remember when you started and when you watched.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I like it. Okay.
Because I thought of that, maybe I will watch that. The other thing is I've actually, for the first time, I've gotten interested in watching one of the Marvel movies, but I'd have to watch everything that came before it for all the little, details and stuff. I probably don't, but
which one are you interested in watching?
Without looking for it, spoilers just happen. I'm on YouTube, whatever, and then did you hear about that? And then I learned a spoiler about the latest Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, those are impossible to avoid. I haven't seen the movie either, but I think I know everything that happens in that movie.
So a little nugget dropped out there, and I was like, oh, they're doing this with this. Okay, that's got me interested. So now I kind of want to see it, but I figure, well, maybe I should watch the others leading up to
the other Spider. I think you could get away with just watching the Spider-Man movies because they're fairly self-contained, they're fairly self-contained.
Yeah, I mean, because part of me really doesn't care about the spoilers because I don't think you can spoil comic book movies. Saying,
the good guy's going to win.
This character is in this movie. That's not a spoil. That's not like going to affect my enjoyment. I understand if you're watching it and you're excited and you're like, and you have that moment where you can go, ooh, But I had that moment when I saw it on YouTube. I was like, oh, okay.
Like I partly understand it. I partly understand. Like, for instance, still remember I was just talking about this the other day with somebody because they reminded me that this year, get ready to feel old. This year, Wayne's World turns 30. Wayne's World came out 30 years ago this year. And so I remember that scene. Spoiler alert for Wayne's World. You haven't seen it, a couple of years. But I still remember that scene sitting in the theater. And I'm so glad they never spoiled this in the trailer or anything. But when that cop stops Wayne and Robert Patrick comes out and says, "Have you seen this boy?" I remember that surprise. That guy was just like, "Oh, that was so great." I'm so glad that was not spoiled for me because I got to experience that in the theater.
Absolutely. I understand. It's all part of the movie experience,
Right.
But that was and surprise the audience.
But that was a character that was from another movie, and just him being there was out of left field. And it wasn't like he wasn't the Terminator, he was just Robert Patrick, but you got it. It's just like it was a surprise joke. Seeing Doc Ock in a Spider-Man movie, it's not a surprise. I'm sorry, it's just not shocking. It's like I would not feel the same by seeing him there. I'd be like, of course Doc Ock is in this movie. It's a Spider-Man movie, you know? So I don't know. I don't know how we got to the point where Doc Ock being in a Spider-Man movie is. I hope I'm not spoiling anything. I don't know if Doc Ock is in the next Spider-Man movie. That was just the name that came off the top of my head.
That's
He
in
might
the
be.
trailer and all the
Okay.
posters and
Well, I
everything.
don't watch it. I don't watch any of that stuff. It's the Spider-Man movies coming out. I'll watch it. I don't need to see the trailer. All right. I think we're done with you now. I think we've.
I am finished.
All good.
Sit back and provide color commentary.
So last week, Sarah and I we took it easy on the movies because there's a couple of TV shows that I wanted to get to, and so I needed to make some time somewhere. So I had to sacrifice some movie watching to get caught up on some TV shows. Plus, the Oscars are coming up, and whenever the nominations are made, Sarah and I like to watch all the Oscar movies just to watch them to see,
to ridicule them and say, why is this nominated?
Yes. And well, I like getting a curated list from Hollywood that says here are all the best movies that we've put forward. And you get to watch like a lot of interesting movies that I normally wouldn't, watch. Like there's, documentaries and animated films and that. So I find it a rewarding experience. What actually wins? I don't actually watch the Oscars. I don't care what wins or what doesn't. It's usually not what I think is the best. But I do like having that curated list. But so before we got to that point, which we're at right now, I wanted to get a TV show in me that I've been dying to get into me for the longest time. It's so Ricky Gervais was out promoting his new show called Afterlife. And I'm like, oh yes, Afterlife. I got to get to that. And they're already on season 3 of the show. So I'm like, okay, we got to take a rest with the movies. I got to get this show in me. I want to watch this show. And it's not a long show. Like it's only there are only half-hour episodes, and there was only 6 episodes in each season, so it's not a big time commitment. Now, this show, what attracted me to it is it's about it's called Afterlife, and so it's about the afterlife. It's about it's kind of promoted as death, but it's not really about death. It's about grieving. It's about all the so Ricky Gervais directs and writes every single one of these episodes. It is fantastic. It is an excellent show. I love The Office. This might just outdo The Office. It is so well done, so good. And the fact that it's just all from him, it's all like his writing. Everything is in his words. It just makes it that much better. It's just there's so many scenes between two characters that they're just saying these crazy asinine things, and you could just see him just sitting at the typewriter writing all this crazy stuff on it. So he plays this guy who he works for a newspaper, and his job is to go find interesting stories for this. It's a local newspaper that doesn't make too much money, and he loses his wife. His wife passes away from cancer. She pops up in the show a lot though, because they took a lot of video. So he has like a lot of video of her on his laptop. So the first season, I think he wasn't sure if it was going to last, like if he was ever going to get a second season. So the only thing I could really criticize is that first season kind of wraps up in a nice little bow with a nice thing. And then at the start of the second season, he has to regress the character back because you have to carry this thing on somehow. But the next 2 seasons are totally worth it. I watched the third season. Like I said, there are only 6 episodes, so you can watch them really quick. We would watch like 3 episodes a night, and the way that this final season ended, I hope that the show doesn't come back because it just ended on such a beautiful note. It's on Netflix. I don't know if you could watch it. If you watch it, we could talk about it. It's really good. I'd like to get your perspective on a lot of the things within the show. But it's like, I don't know, they're just like everyday characters, everyday people. It doesn't come off as phony. It doesn't come off as fake. It comes off as like real people dealing with problems and issues. And I don't know what else to say about it. It's good.
Yeah, it's here.
Definitely check it out.
Okay.
They'll watch the 3rd season in the morning. You couldn't help it. Well, I think we watched it in 2 sittings in 2 days, but it's good. Amanda enjoys it, according to Dean. So there you go. And Sarah was a bucket of tears at the end of it. Really
well. I don't mind checking it out, but I've got a little rule where I try to watch one TV show at a time, because I know if I start something else, I may delay getting back to the other one. And I've been watching something for 2 months now that I'm waiting to talk about, but I want to finish it all first.
What do you watch? Are you allowed to say what?
I don't want to say anything. I'll just when I get to the end of it, I will talk about it, and then I will try to make this Afterlife the next thing I get into.
Well, put it on your list for the next thing, because if you like Ricky
put
Gervais,
the little remind me thing.
And it's so cool because he gets all of his like social commentary out through the characters and that, just like different things they say and all that. Yeah, you might want to turn on some subtitles though for some characters because they talk in a very like he does not disguise the British accent at all, and they use a lot of slang and whatnot.
I found even when it's something I've never heard of before, you can usually understand within context.
Yeah,
but
it's definitely one of those shows where people are talking. If your rules box, I agree with Richard. I like to do one show at a time as well. I do like I'll watch like the political shows and stuff like that, like John Oliver and stuff. But once I get into a show, that's like I want to finish that show before.
Yeah, because it's happened to me many times before. I'm watching something and then start watching something else, and then suddenly you don't get to that next season.
Yeah, that's why I have 6 video games downloaded on my computer that are half done. Because you never get to finishing it. So I totally get it.
Yeah, so I'll watch movies, but one show at a time.
Yeah. All right. Well, when you get to it, we can talk about it. But yeah, it's good. It's one of those shows too that there's going to be a second viewing, and so you can catch more of what was said.
Okay.
Those good times. So that was great. I watched Batman 1966 with Adam West.
Batman the movie?
Batman the movie. Good times. Yeah.
Good time, not a little slower than you remembered.
I remember when I was a kid, when that movie would come on, I'd be like, oh my God, I gotta watch Batman. And I would just be glued to the set. This one was like, you could definitely see why it was a half-hour show. Like the joke kind of thing. But there was some, and the best parts are really the parts that you see online, like him with the bomb.
Some days
and the shark,
get rid of a bomb.
Yeah, and the shark and that. So the joke does overstay its welcome a little bit, but for the most part, it's a fun movie.
It's fun. There are a lot of great moments in there, and beginning to end, you can have a good time with it. But especially when he's on his date with Selena Kyle, it slows down just a bit too much, and hearing him do all his corny romantic dialogue, it's like, come on, keep going, get to the funny costumes and the Biff Pam wow and all that.
Well, yeah, they save that till the
very
end.
You don't get any of those little effects until the end.
I was surprised at that, but that was the first time I had watched it since I was a kid. So, and it's funny too, when I watched it as a kid, none of that was a joke to me. That was all dead serious. That was all this is Batman, this is his world, this is him fighting crime, this is what he does. But watching it now, you can watch it on a whole other different level kind of thing. But it was funny.
Did you ever start watching? You did a Twitter poll of what show you were going to start watching, and one of the options I voted for, and I'm curious, did you start watching whatever you voted on there?
MASH is what won, and we haven't started watching it yet.
Okay,
but we will get there. I wanted to get to that show, and now we're doing the Oscar thing. But we'll get like that when we decide that that's going to be it's time for old time sitcom. MASH will be the next one that we watch.
Okay, that's a commitment. This is like 11 seasons.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's MASH. You got to watch it all.
It's MASH. MASH is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I've seen them all before. We watched. Well, I watched them when I was a teenager. They used to come on at 6:00 every day, so I'd rush through supper and rush through the dishes so I can run downstairs and watch MASH. And then about 15 years ago, we were going to the library and we take the discs out at the library and we started watching them there. But half the discs at the library were roached and they wouldn't work and that. So we only got like a few episodes. I think we only made it to season 6 or something, and then we had to drop it. But looking forward to going through the whole thing. Okay, so I did watch The Purge, and
you didn't care for it.
I don't think I'm going to watch any more Purge. I think one Purge is good enough for me. My problem with that movie, with the premise, with the idea, is that I really can't see people turning on and off their empathy like a switch. Like, oh, it's 7:00, time to go rape, pillage, and kill. Like it just.
Yeah, there are a lot of weaknesses with that franchise, but one of them is I think they needed to better establish the world so you could see some more examples of this crazy society.
Let me explain.
How did they get to this point?
Let me explain the movie. So the idea of the movie is the idea of the Purge is America had like terrible unemployment rate, I don't know, incredible violence or whatever. And their idea to solve this problem was to just let people go nuts and loose for 12 hours every year. There's a day at 7 p.m. Everyone goes and they could do whatever they want from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So if you hate your neighbor and you want to burn down their house, you can go ahead and do it. If you want to kill someone, you can go ahead and do it. If you want to blow something up, you can go ahead and do it. Whatever it is, there's no consequences for whatever you do. So people they wait all year, right? They're like, I'm going to go kill that guy. And they wait all year to go kill him and that. And then, so this family that the movie centers around, the guy he sells security. Basically, he'll secure your house for this purge. You'll have this awesome security system with all cameras and that. No one can get to you. I don't know, builds up resentment for neighbors for some reason. They hate the idea that this guy is making money off the purge or something. I don't know. Anyways, that's the idea, is that people can just do it. And I just couldn't buy into that. I couldn't buy into I don't know. People are more complex than that. They're not just robots that they can just turn it off for 12 hours.
That's why you need some world building. You need to see how this society got this way, some other examples of how they behave and different aspects of their lives. It's basically a Twilight Zone premise that's stretched out to a feature film and then to an entire franchise, where it really should just be a nice little half hour. Like, oh, isn't that weird? Isn't that something?
Yeah, they do. Like, they give you a little bit of something. Like, they tell you, because it was like another depression that happened. There was allusions to World War III or something like that, and they decided this was the thing that was going to get them out of it. Bill says, I could totally see Joe putting on a mask and sniping off neighbors from a roof once a year. Yeah, well, Joe is a special case. Okay, I'll give you that with Joe, but not everybody. I don't think. I think if you are inclined to do something like that, you're going to be inclined to do it at any time of the year. You're not going to,
yeah.
I don't know, just switch it on and off. It just didn't. What do you do after? So the family in this movie, and I'm going to get into a little bit of spoilers. The family in this movie, eventually, they let somebody into the house who's a poor guy. He's having. They're running after him. They're going to kill him.
He's being chased by some purgers. Yeah.
Right. The mob is gonna kill him. So the son feels bad. He sees on the cameras that this is happening. Feels bad. Lets him into the house, and then they lock up the house again, and they find that this guy's in the house. Like, what the hell are you doing, son? And then the mob that was chasing the guy now wants to get into the house. And they're like, let us in the house. You let the guy out, we'll leave you alone. And if you don't, we're going to blow up your house. And the guy, the father of this family, knows that his house isn't as secure as they sell it to be. There are ways to get in. So he knows how serious the situation is. And I don't know, just... it was predictable. You knew that the guy that they let in, that they hated, and were debating on whether or not they should, throw him out to the wolves, is going to be the guy that's going to save them in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then the neighbors end up turning on the family because they don't like the fact that this guy sold these things for some reason. And I like, how do you exist in society after that? Like, how do you?
It's not brilliant filmmaking.
I don't know. Anyways,
there's nothing groundbreaking about it.
So speaking of bad movies, I also watched the David Fincher classic, The Game, from the late 90s, starring Michael Douglas.
I remember somebody telling me they saw this back when it was out, and it sounded stupid. And he told me the ending, and it sounded even more stupid.
Yeah, that's basically it. So it's a well executed film for what it is. There's a lot of tension throughout the entire movie. So this guy, Michael Douglas, is a really rich guy. He's got millions upon millions of dollars. He's a multi-millionaire, as they say. And his brother wants to get him a gift. What do you get the guy that has everything? Well, he gets him this gift from this company that basically gives you like this adventure, inserts an adventure into your real life. It's a kind of a ridiculous premise, but I don't know, if you go with it on that, like to that level, okay. And then, but the movie doesn't really tell you whether or not like what's happening to the guy is part of this game that this company has set up, or if there's like a bigger plot to steal all of his money. Like at some point, it's revealed that this company is a sham, and they're really just designed to steal money from rich people. Or are they? Who knows, right? It keeps going back and forth, back and forth. And then at the end, it's really the end that just ruins the entire experience. Even though, like, when you're watching, it's like, okay, is this really happening? Is this like thing? And I don't know. I'll just kind of go along with this premise. And then the end is just so bad. Let's see. Dean says he saw the movie once when he was a kid, and for whatever reason, he remembers it perfectly. Well, you know what? The ending of the movie is very memorable. I remember watching it back in the day, and I forgot everything about it. I think I fell asleep during it, but I definitely will remember the end of the movie.
Well, if it was well executed, like you said, there's a lot of tension. I've never seen it, but if it was just well executed, that's a reason why it would stick in your head, even if it's not.
Yeah, I mean,
even if there's that issue with the core of the film.
Yeah, well, the entire time I'm watching the movie, I'm like, okay, this is like, this is some good stuff in that. But the parts that's nagging at me is like, if this is really all a game, this is really stupid. Like, it's so beyond plausibility. And then they take some steps at the end that it doesn't make any flipping sense whatsoever. I don't even know how they got away with that ending at all. How it got past the test screens. I don't know who. Like that, I don't know. It just, yeah. I personally think David Fincher might be a little bit overrated. I think he's got that Seven movie, and I don't know what else, but I don't know. Okay.
Alien 3.
I enjoy Alien 3, but I don't know how much he actually did of that movie because there's like some problems with that. Who actually directed that movie? Okay. So we're in Oscar season. Sarah and I started watching some Oscar nominated films. The first one we watched because it was just convenient and on Netflix was The Lost Daughter. This stars
The Lost Otter?
The Lost Daughter.
Okay.
Daughter. The Lost Otter. That might be a better movie than this one was.
I like otters.
who doesn't like a good
Otters
otter?
are the most cutest, adorable creatures on the planet.
Sarah says 7 was much better. Yeah, she's a huge fan of 7. So yeah, this movie, The Lost Daughter, was nominated for Best Actress for Olivia Colman, Best Supporting Actress for Jessie Buckley, which I'm fine with because the acting in the movie was okay. But the other Oscar that it was nominated for was Best Adaptation because this movie is based on a book. And let me tell you, the book has to be better. There has to be something lost in translation from when they made it into the movie because so much of this movie did not make sense. I liked the premise of the movie, the idea of the movie, because it's basically about this woman who is on vacation and this family, like she's trying to have this quiet time where she's doing some writing and some working in that, and this family kind of invades the quiet resort that she's on, and they kind of take over. They're a big, loud Greek family. I know that might be a stereotype.
Racist.
I don't know if it's racist, but it's definitely a stereotype. Anyways, she's not too pleased with them. They ask her to move around a little bit because they're trying to have like a big party in that. Yes, Olivia Colman was good in it, Dean. She is good. But the movie itself, there's some problems there. Basically it's about parenthood, motherhood, and how not everybody is cut out to be a parent. And some people don't discover that until after they have children, which is a bit, I wouldn't say a taboo subject, but it's something that's really not discussed a lot, especially with women, because that's just like a sin. Like, you can't, a lot of women can't even imagine like abandoning their kids or anything like that. And this movie tackles it head on. But there's so much that doesn't make any sense. Like and scenes that just kind of go nowhere. There's stuff that's not explained. Like for instance, the character has like some sort of narcolepsy thing where she'll just fall asleep, but they don't really explain what it is, like what this narcolepsy is. Like she just falls asleep on a dime. Like she'll be just like talking, and then all of a sudden and they don't explain if it's a medical condition that she has or if it's something psychic thing or something, or I don't know, not psychic. What's the word I'm looking for? Mental, like a mental problem or something like that. I don't know. They don't explain it. It's like, why does this keep happening to her? I imagine in the book they explain it. They explain what the issue is, but the movie doesn't. So, directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. Maggie, you gotta do better. But what do I know? The movie's nominated for best adaptation. So what do I know? And finally, last night we watched a much better movie. We watched the movie. This one was nominated, I believe, for Best Picture and Best Supporting Actor from an actor you don't know, and I don't know, but I did do a Zoom call with him. And the movie's called CODA. So this movie is about this family. They live in Massachusetts, and they operate a fishing boat, and everyone in the family is deaf except for the one daughter. And through time, like over time, the family kind of ends up relying on her a lot to be their translator, and the family gets to be a little recluse. They kind of get comfortable with not having to deal with society and people and that, and they just kind of send her out to negotiate everything for them. So negotiate the price of the fish that they sell on the boat, and anytime there's a problem or anything like that. And she's coming of age. She's in high school. She's in her last year of high school. She's thinking about going to college the next year. Turns out she has this really good, amazing talent of singing. She can sing really well, which no one in the family can recognize because they're all deaf. So it's kind of a predictable movie. You can see the ending coming a mile away, but it's very well executed. The whole thing is just well done, and the characters were great, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I'd be surprised if another movie sneaks in for my favorite movie. out of the nominated lot, but if it does happen, then I'm in for a good treat because that was really good. So I recommend CODA.
While we're
There
on
you
the
go.
subject of Oscars
Yes.
and nominations, I did also watch Resident Evil Retribution.
Oh, that's up for, what was that, 2016?
2012? 16?
2012? Yeah, that
2012?
one, that swept the Oscars, didn't it?
No, in all honesty, really good sound.
Was it up for sound?
No,
Was it
no, no, no,
nominated?
no,
Oh.
no, 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 no. But I had been watching a lot of those Resident Evil movies again recently, and it really stood out. The gunshots, punches, everything had like a nice oomph to it. Really, really good sound. That's it.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna make a movie like that, you gotta.
Well, it's shocking because the Indiana Jones like hand cannon gunshot when he fires that thing, it's totally unrealistic, but it's just like it's like that really great gunshot.
Dirty Harry.
Yeah. Like so many action movies, the guns are just kind of like boop, 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 that doesn't sound like anything, but you want that to like bam. There's actually a couple of scenes early on in that Resident Evil movie where it's nice and slow, and they focus on some like little sound design. She goes into this room and the lights are coming on, and you hear the little boom, 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 boom hum of the lights and everything. It was like for a minute there, it was like really nice.
Dean wants to know if that was the one with Ada Wong.
Yes, it was. It is the best Resident Evil movie. And it's like, as a movie, it's like way down here.
It's terrible,
but
stinks,
it's the
but it's
best. It's the best of the Resident Evil movies. Best movie of the year wasn't even nominated this time.
Okay, Bill.
Go ahead.
What is the best movie of the year?
Spider-Man.
Well, he liked what was the movie? The Marvel movie that Eternals. Everyone hates that movie except for Bill. He likes that movie. Apparently, he's really into Harry Styles in that movie. That's his thing. Come on, Bill, comment better. Put the movie in there.
A little faster.
No.
We're at the end of the show.
All right. Well, I'll do the wrap up here while we wait because food is ready.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh, food.
Go check out our Discord if you want to see what other movies Richard watched. And I put my movies in there too, although I put them on Letterboxd as well. But if you just want a Discord, you can just go check that out over there. Got tons of people commenting over there about everything. A lot of Star Trek, but other stuff too. But if you want to follow us on Twitter, we are there at @retro_Fandango. Don't really do too much with that account other than announce a new episode, but you'll never miss an episode because it's announced there. And we do the odd Twitter poll on there as well, apparently.
When necessary.
That's it. That's the whole thing. Are you going to watch the Book of Boba Fett? Baba O'Reilly? The Book of Baba O'Reilly? I see everyone's complaining about that. It's like the entire Star Wars universe has finally caught up to us. Finally. We can get Star Wars is crap. We can move on. So good.
Meh.
Okay. Well,
it's like old Boba Fett.
Yeah, well, and Baby Yoda is in it apparently. So there you go.
I thought he was in the other show.
Yeah, he's in both. It's crazy.
Really?
The worlds are tied together.
So yeah, isn't it weird that they got one show about a bounty hunter in a Mandalorian suit, and then they got another show about another bounty hunter in a Mandalorian suit,
and it takes place on a desert planet,
just like the other one.
A Star Wars movie, a Star Wars show something in Star Wars taking place on a desert planet. No one has ever seen that before. Never happened.
It's really not. Well, to be fair, it's not too dissimilar from Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, all spaceships from around, wearing similar costumes.
Yeah, okay, but they at least explore different planets. I mean, Star Trek is about, for the most part, a crew on a ship out and exploring space. So of course they're going to be on a ship.
Well, I'm
When you're-
talking base level, surface level stuff because I haven't seen these Star Wars shows.
I'm talking like Star Wars is a
I'm
world
not going to
and
get
a
myself in
universe,
trouble.
and these
complaining
people hop between other planets, because they got the hyperspace and they go on the hyperspace and go, but they're stuck on this one planet all the time. They're always stuck on a desert planet.
Well, that's where they built
come
the
on.
sets.
Come on, Star Wars, smarten up. Bill says they're not complaining about it. I've only heard complaints. I have not heard one good thing about the book of Boba Fett. Bill
Why is it
must-
called the Book of Boba Fett? Is he
That is a
writing in a journal or something?
Terrible name. I have no idea. No clue. But it is a terrible name. All right. We got our Star Wars digs in. Just enough to annoy Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Boba is working the power void there. I don't know what he's talking about. All right. Thanks for watching, listening. Thanks for everyone in the comments. We got Bill, of course. We got Sarah who's telling me food is ready. We had Dean, and we had the llama. That was it.
Yep.
All right.
Hey, tune in next time for a very special episode 200.
Don't set anything up because we're not doing anything for 200.
But it'll get people in.
We did it all for 100. Nobody cared. We still couldn't get podcast of the year, so I'm like 200. I'm
Just
not doing anything.
Pretend we didn't do all those film dangos, and this will be the actual 200th episode.
That's right. We do have a lot more episodes than 200, but our episodes are spread out behind.
This one has the actual number.
Yeah. All right. That's it. Goodbye, everybody.